My boss refused my 2 weeks notice and wants 8 weeks notice like my coworker gave. Can she enforce this? Note: I'm in Canada and we don't have it will. I accepted a job offer and put in my 2 weeks notice. Except the holidays are coming up, so technically it's not fully 10 business days but 14 calendar days. My boss was pissed that I tried to pull a fast one on her for that, but I just wanted to leave ASAP. It would end up being 3-4 weeks notice if I delayed it, and I desperately want out. My boss denied my 2 weeks notice, saying it wasn't even 10 business days and I can be pursued legally for breach of contract by not providing enough notice. She went on to say even a full 2 weeks isn't enough and I should be providing 4 weeks or better yet 8 weeks like my coworker. I insisted on 2 weeks since my contract said to provide 2 weeks minimum and I also have a start date. My boss told me to push back my start date because 2 weeks isn't enough to train someone and the team cannot function without me. I told her I couldn't push back my start date, but my boss stated I could be pursued legally for breach of contract. Not to mention, given the holidays and my short notice, they won't be able to find a replacement in time. My boss tried to guilt trip me by saying that no one else can fulfill my role. She accused me of deliberately trying to sabotage them because I'm leaving right before the month gets busy again. She then told me that I would have to work holidays, weekends, and overtime, which are not regular business days, to make up for it since we are understaffed. I said I couldn't do that, but she said I had no choice and ended it there. I can tell she will make the next 2 weeks a living hell for me. What can I do? I don't want to burn any bridges with the company. I work in HR in Canada. She's all threats and can't do shit. Your contract says 2 weeks minimum. 2 weeks is 14 calendar days. Tell her you've fulfilled your obligation under the contract and your last day will firmly be X. If she continues to berate you, then leave immediately due to the horrible environment she is creating for you, and make sure you document in your own notes what she has done. It's so interesting when they claim that you leaving will hurt them. Strange that they didn't pay you like you were that important while you still worked there. Make no mistake, meeting the minimum terms of a contract is all you're obligated to. Note that they too met those minimum terms when they paid you the agreed upon amount and not $20 hour more as a courtesy. You don't owe them anything. And of course she can't require you to continue to attend work after you've given notice. Don't tell your employer where you're going to. They might try to screw your new job up, and don't accept a new pay raise to stay. It's often a trick to get you to train your replacement. What are they gonna do? Fire you? It's not a breach of contract. Your contract states to provide a 2 weeks notice. You've provided 14 calendar days of notice, so it's not your prerogative anymore. She can try to come after you legally, but because of the wording of the contract, a lawyer is going to laugh her out of the room. Go back and double-check the contract and make sure it says 2 weeks and not 10 business days, but in your case I think a judge would side in your favor since a 2-week notice is not legally enforceable. Is it in your contract? Usually 2 weeks notice is a courtesy. She can't strong-arm you into a longer notice period unless it's in your contract. Your boss is full of shit. What can you do? Just quit and enjoy a couple days off before the new job. Fuck your old job. I'm sorry you're upset. I'm not going to be here after the 28th though, Barb, so I'm afraid you're going to have to plan around that. If they can't find quality employees and retain them, there's a chance they are not in a financial position to seek legal action against you. Stick to the bare minimum of your contract. I'd tell her it's 2 weeks, and if she doesn't apologize for how she spoke to you, it'll be 0. It's very pointless and exhausting to pursue someone for not working their notice. Don't be a pushover, don't be soft. If your contract says 2 weeks, you give 2 weeks and do the bare minimum. Stay wise. What if you ask for 5x pay for the remaining 6 weeks? If your contract says 2 weeks, then they can't do shit. How can your boss even think that it would be breach of contract? Is she dumb as a box of spanners? How long it takes to train someone or if they get in trouble because of this is completely irrelevant and something a company should have thought about beforehand. As for burning bridges, as you've already noticed, there are no bridges. There are only walls. I'm in Canada. Well, if that's the case and you gave 2 weeks and that wasn't accepted, I'd just not show up at all. You are not their slave. You owe them nothing. You lost me at denied my notice. That's not an option that they have. You are not a slave. 2 calendar weeks is a courtesy. Canadian here in Ontario. 2 weeks is a courtesy, not a requirement unless you sign something that says you'll give more notice. While it's nice to give the notice and work until your last day, you don't need to put up with any BS from the boss. If she makes work difficult, tell her you're leaving now and go. Just had a friend quit his job of 18 years for something better, and when they asked him what his last day was, he said lunchtime and left. He just came in to bring coffee and donuts and say goodbyes. Go off sick, with stress today. Your boss is lying to you. They cannot take legal action for this. Are you a slave or a doormat? No? Fuck your boss. Make your plans to fit your needs. Inform your boss. Don't ask him. Leave when you said you would. Understaffed, busy season, no HR, and threatening legal action? That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out for them. The costs of time and lawyers, it's going to hurt them far more than it hurts you. They won't pursue this. Your contract said 2 weeks, it doesn't say 10 business days. You cannot control if any of those days are holidays, plus only federal holidays are ever recognized. You're good to move on. They're just panicking and trying to keep staffed. Where in the contract does it say you have to give more than 2 weeks? There is no way for her to enforce that. She can deny all she wants. You weren't asking her, you were telling her. Absolutely not your problem. 2 weeks of 0 weeks. Oh, and don't tell them what your new company is. Don't update your LinkedIn. Sounds like this manager will make your life hell at your new company. They may try to make trouble for you by making some phone calls to your new employer. Even if it was in your contract to give more than 2 weeks, they would have to prove it was unreasonable for you to do so. Having another job and giving 2 weeks notice make you reasonable. Even if they tried to sue you, all you'd have to say is you felt uncomfortable at your job because of something. If the business is open on weekends, then what does it matter if it's calendar or business days? They're the same. You've fulfilled your obligation. Congrats on your new job. You said you don't want to burn bridges, but your manager is clearly not on the same page. I would start including your manager's boss in all emails, texts, etc. with your manager. Dear 2 weeks, turn in your stuff, and bounce to the new job. With the way they are treating you, why the hell would you not want to burn bridges? The moment that manager threatened me with legal action for putting in a 2-week notice is the moment that would have turned into a right now notice. Fuck is she gonna do, put you in jail? Do one better tell her to eat a dick and quit today. If it's not in your contract, no. In Canada? That would be met with a reply of you just turned 2 weeks into immediately. See ya. She can't even enforce 2 weeks, just leave if you want to. HR here. He can't enforce whatever it is he wants to tell you. Fuck them. If you got a start date for the next job, leave immediately and enjoy some time off before starting the new job. Your mental health is important. If the contract says 10 business days, then you are so bound. Otherwise 2 weeks is 14 calendar days. And as for burning bridges, I'd say your manager is the one with the book of matches. Check your contract, check your location's laws, and also check with a legal expert. Get everything in writing, and remember your boss is full of hot air. This is probably making them look bad and they are looking for someone to blame. They cannot sue you. 2 weeks is 14 days and includes holidays, weekends. I recently gave more notice than I needed to my boss turned toxic, so I reduced the notice to what was in my contract. They threatened to sue etc. because they couldn't find a replacement, and in the end nothing happened. I consulted an employment lawyer who laughed at the threats. What are they gonna do? Fire you? Tell boss that your end date is not a request, but a notification. And if she hadn't been so incompetent as a boss, she wouldn't have had to worry about it. Hope you enjoy your new job and keep moving on to bigger and better things. Lol, no? Just stop going after 2 weeks. So many places I've worked have told me I cannot quit when I want to. Guess what? I did. Guess what? They still had to send me my last check. That's it. Stick to your contract. Her demands are ridiculous. My biggest takeaway from this thread is I'm glad I live in Canada. 14 calendar days is what your contract says. Start communicating through text, email, or something with a trail, and record any verbal discussions. If they continue being unruly, leave immediately due to the harsh environment. I wish I knew more about Canada. In the US I would have just quit and filed a harassment claim with the labor board and got paid for 2 weeks anyway. Sounds like she doesn't want to be the boss and fill the role while you are gone. She can't refuse notice, she's been served. Leave in 2 weeks. 2 weeks quit notice denied? Okay, then I quit today, have a nice day. Bye. So you have a contract that says 2 weeks? Does it specify 10 business days? If it only weighs 2 weeks and doesn't specify it being 10 working days, I tell your manager to eat it. And as for the guilt trip, you have to be selfish and think of yourself. Tell them it's not personal, it's only business. That's what they would say if they decided to fire you. Don't feel bad. Do is best for you. The rest is irrelevant. And look at the way they are treating you and see it as a confirmation that you did the right thing. I don't know anything about Canadian labor's laws, so can't really comment on that aspect, but your bridge is already burned. Your boss lit the match. Why would you want to keep that connection anyway? She sounds like a miserable human being. Lamau, if your contract states it requires at least a 2-week notice, you need to provide at least a 2-week notice. Not a lawyer, but you're in the clear, my dude. Soon-to-be ex-boss is trying to guilt-trip you into staying. Sounds like someone realized how much they fucked up by pushing you out and is desperately trying to cling on. Does it say in your contract 10 business days or 2 weeks? If it says 2 weeks, it doesn't matter when those 2 weeks are, they can't do shit legally. Tell them if they can't train somebody in time, they should have made you sign a new contract, which also should reflect in a pay rise. My advice is hand in your 2 weeks notice if that's what the wording in your contract is and it can't be denied. Then just don't show up after your end date. If they don't pay you your entitlements, then you have the legal route to take to get them. I insisted on 2 weeks since my contract said to provide 2 weeks minimum. Nothing else matters. You have a contract. It says you only have to give 2 weeks. Make a copy, highlight the necessary part. Paint the office or whatever in documentation of the contract and your 2-week notice. My contract says 2 weeks. Then you give 2 weeks. They cannot force you to force otherwise and have no leg to stand on legally. Double check your contract but stick to the 14 calendar days and then no show up after that. You solved it yourself when you said your contract states 2 weeks minimum. She can't demand more than that. Start the new job once the 2 weeks have elapsed. From her wildly unprofessional reaction of guilt-tripping you and forcing you to work days to make up for it, just do what you can for a standard 2 weeks of work and leave.